Regime change has been the catchphrase of the week since China dramatically suspended coal imports from North Korea. Totaling more than a third of the country's exports, many have suggested that China is ready to bring Kim Jong-un and his regime to heel and institute either dramatic changes or outright revolution to the country commonly known as the Hermit Kingdom. China is reportedly conscious of the fact that the country is steadily improving its ability to deliver a nuclear payload to the US and its allies, and angered by the assassination of Kim Jong-nam, Kim Jong-un's half-brother, who enjoyed Chinese protection for years in Macau. However, the idea of the changes of nuclear weaponry and the new Donald Trump presidency would push China to walk away from its longtime ally are simply unfounded and misguided. Anyone who is currently dreaming of a unified Korea is merely indulging in an idea that is fanciful as the communist ideology that the rogue state is loosely based off. Firstly, China is using the export ban merely to reinstate leverage over its neighbour, and secondly, China has two incredibly good reasons why it would never indulge in wholesale regime change. The idea that this new coal ban is China's first step to institute a change in the government in Pyongyang is frankly ludicrous. The country may export 22.4 million metric tons of coal to China last year, but that pales in comparison to the 255 million metric tons it imported. You see, China's lifeline to North Korea is not the buying its goods, but in supplying it goods. North Korea imported $450 million worth of fuel and commodities last year alone, many of which are vital to keeping the regime in power. Without this support, the country would descend into chaos, and no other major trading partner, military ally, or external source of support could fill the vacuum. Imports is what allows Kim Jong-un to rule over 25 million people who are suffering from a widespread famine. China's implementation of this coal ban is simply a retaliation for the assassination of Kim Jong-nam in Malaysia, Kim Jong-un's half-brother, and long rumoured to be China's long-standing preference to rule the Hermit Kingdom. By reinstating this leverage, China can extract the concessions it requires from Pyongyang. But focusing on the fact that China would pull other levers if it truly sought to bring about a revolution in North Korea overlooks the simple fact that it has two very good reasons not to destabilise its northern neighbour. You see, if North Korea can be a headache for China occasionally, then wholesale revolution would be like solving one's headache by shooting oneself in the head. Regime change essentially guarantees a unified Korea, which results in millions of refugees flooding across the border and a US ally becoming a neighbouring state. As seen in the political upheaval across Europe, a refugee crisis consisting of millions of people is an enormous political and economic strain on destination countries. Chinese authorities would be stretched to their limits in dealing with the unfolding humanitarian crisis, and unrest would stir in a communist country that succeeds only due to its ability to quell unrest. Furthermore, North Korea's collapse would result in unification, as the fall of the DDR resulted in the unification of Germany. That means China would have to share a border with a US ally. Consequently, US troops and US military technology would be adjacent to the Chinese border. Authorities in Beijing would see this as a threat, amplified by the humiliating fact that it was only enabled due to the downfall of a longtime ally which China had backed. As a result, China not only has no reason to indulge in regime change, but it's not even pulling the right levers if it wanted to acquire it. Don't worry folks, we all know that North Korea is the best Korea, and it's not going anywhere. Thanks for listening to Black Swan Politics.